Welcome to another episode of the Voices of the Learning Network podcast, the show where we explore the people, ideas, and practices shaping the future of learning. Hello, everybody. This is your host, Bill Banham. And in this particular episode, I am joined by Jane Hames, Director and Lead IT Trainer over at Glide Training. Jane describes herself as a people-focused IT trainer, and it shows. Her journey from technophobe to tech expert gives her rare insight into the fears, frustrations, and confidence barriers that learners face today. That lived experience is the foundation of her approach: human, patient, and practical. Jane's story is inspiring, relatable, and full of lessons about how we can make learning more human, more accessible, and more effective. Hey, Jane, welcome to the show today. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So let's get straight into it then. Firstly, I'm keen to know, what was the journey that took you from technophobe to expert IT trainer?
Well, I mean, I was surprised to find myself on that journey, I don't mind admitting. Back in the early to mid-90s, I was an art student doing a degree in fine art, and that meant an occasional need to visit the computer room, write up essays and print them out on those huge reams of computer paper that we used to get. And that's when I realised that my technophobia was kicking in. I wasn't aware of it before, but being in that environment, it really kicked in. But luckily, I had some friends who came along to support me and help me through that. After university, I travelled, and on my return, I got a temp job providing admin support for a training company. Part of that role was to write training materials and other sort of IT-based admin work. So that technophobia kind of rose again. But, you know, this time I was working with IT trainers, and they made me realise that it was possible, you know, with the right help, even a technophobe, as I was back then, could do it. So I stayed there for a while doing that admin job, and then they offered me an opportunity to train up to be an IT trainer. I mean, I love a challenge, so I said yes, and I found that I really enjoyed it, and I could see how learning to use software in the best way made my life better and easier. And I also enjoyed the fact that I was, you know, making a difference to other people as well. And that really just spurred me on to learn more and more.
Okay, so it sounds like in your case, you fortuitously got into a space where you had some, to use the old 90s term, IT experts around you that were happy to mentor, wanted to encourage an environment of learning, and that spurred you on. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it just made me realize that it was possible.
Okay, I love that. So how does your experience inform your approach to training today?
Well, I mean, all of that was a very long time ago. It was coming up for 30 years. But, you know, still coming from that non-technical background, I think I see things differently. You know, it's not about showing off my tech skills necessarily. And I think, you know, firstly, I see the people that I'm designing the training for. I'm very much a big picture type of person. So, you know, I think that helps as well, because I can take a big picture view on how the software can deliver more value for them. And it makes my training design really human focused, especially when it's, you know, a rollout of some new software or AI training. You know, I think I reflect back on that process that I went through. And I don't think I was aware of the change curve at that point in my career. But you know, now as I've learned more, I always have that change curve in mind, and I understand the process that people are going through. So you know, with larger training projects, I always approach it as a change project. So focusing on how to give people confidence, help them see the benefits, and always listening to their reservations. And their reasons for any resistance are always perfectly valid as well. So it's just acknowledging all of that as well.
I wonder, Jim, what advice do you have for L&D pros who are managing the training aspect of software or AI change projects? This year has been the year of change management, is which is what I've heard. So,
okay.
tell me.
I mean, every year for me has been a year of change management throughout my career. But I think, thinking about the point you made just there, is that change in technology is happening faster than ever before. So I think that's maybe part of the reason why you've said, this year is the year of change management. But my advice would be to start talking to people. Do that first, get their input, because often people feel like the change is being forced on them. This new software or, using AI in their jobs is being forced on them. But I find if you start talking to people about it, you might be surprised by the ideas they have and also the challenges that they can see. I think it can be really useful, especially talking to the people who might be feeling more negatively about the situation, because, the issues that they're raising are probably perfectly valid and could really be important when considering, the impact of the project. So talk to people, help them understand why the change is happening. I mean, there must be some benefits to introducing this new software or introducing this new way of working or, this new approach. But unless you tell them, they won't necessarily see that. I think identifying a group of early adopters, super users, champions, give them some incentives for learning as well, because then you start to build that momentum when you've got this positive group of people who are already feeling able to embrace the benefits. I think another thing that sometimes gets missed a little bit is, how are we going to keep business as usual as close as possible when going through that transition? So, I would recommend having a really strong plan for that. So that when the change happens, people are already prepared. Could be workshops, could be lunchtime taster sessions, whatever it may be. But just making sure that the communication is really clear and people are feeling involved throughout the whole process. I also find that if you've got the buy-in from the senior leaders, that they're backing the project, they're talking about the benefits as well, because often those people get forgotten when sort of thinking about the training side of things. But I think if those senior leaders receive the training as well, perhaps it's different to what everybody else has, could be a much higher level theme, but getting that buy-in is key for communication and keeping that momentum.
Okay, well, let's keep the momentum going now, shall we? You talk a lot about reducing fear in the learning environment. My question for you here, and don't answer just yet because I'm going to instill a bit of fear in the format for this one, is what are some of the signals that learners are overwhelmed, and how can folks like yourself help them build confidence? But here's the fear factor. I'm going to challenge you to answer that one in 60 seconds or less. Go.
Okay, so resistance to change, perfectly natural, very human. You see it, lack of engagement could seem rude, but it's actually fear. You might see people challenging the validity of the information the trainer's sharing, presenting issues that feel real for them, but actually they could be easily solved. And I think if you tell them you understand what they're saying, provide, easy to understand reasons for the change, and importantly, explain the benefit to them, not just the organization. As humans, I think we need to know what's in it for us as individuals.
Oh, I wasn't counting, but I reckon you had about 10 seconds to spare, Jane.
Oh, okay.
So
I wasted that then.
mission accomplished. In your work, where do organizations most often underestimate the effort required to make software training successful?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes people go straight for an intro, intermediate, advanced approach. I mean, sometimes that is right for the organization if they want to send people through a program of learning. But even though a little bit more effort is involved, going for a bespoke approach that integrates, real examples, we find really delivers a better transformation and, gives people a better return on investment as well. I think making the effort to prepare people who are attending the training, giving them some really simple pre-work. It doesn't actually have to take a lot of time, but, prompting people to think about the work they do. Where do they get stuck? What tasks would they like to be easier? Because often people don't know what they don't know. So it can be hard to say, well, what do you want to learn? So, just giving them some thinking time is really beneficial. And I think making sure that people are held accountable, for making sure that they continue to develop their skills, encouraging that peer knowledge sharing. It's always worth the effort, but often it's forgotten about. So the effort that's put in up front is really important, but it also needs to continue afterwards as well. And of course, it's considering the people side. It's not just about the software.
All right, rock and roll. And just finally, for this particular conversation, I want you to grab your crystal ball from under your table there. Looking ahead, how do you see AI changing the way that we learn new software? And what skills will trainers need to stay relevant?
Well, I mean, I think that all trainers already have the key skill, which is a joy of learning and sharing knowledge. Things like Microsoft Copilot and Google Gemini, they're brilliant tools within the Microsoft suite and Google Workspace. And, we can use these to help us to learn the software. But I think what we're finding is that, the same as with YouTube, or if you're Googling a problem, you don't always find the answer to your exact problem. And you still need to understand how the software works really for the AI results to be successful. So I would say proceed with a bit of skepticism, maybe. For example, if you were using AI to help you write a formula in Excel or write some code, I think we all know that AI doesn't always produce correct results. So that's why I sort of recommend a bit of skepticism, really. I mean, it's amazing. We're seeing great results, but I think as humans, we still have that responsibility to check the output and, address any risks.
Okay, great place to stop for today. That just leaves me to say, Jane Hames, thank you very much for joining me on the pod.
Thank you for having me.